Presentation of problem and justification. Problem statement. In the city of Milwaukee, cars are many people's main way of travel, with an estimated two-thirds of Milwaukee citizens commuting via car, which is often out of necessity and not of want. The Milwaukee County public transit system connects most neighborhoods, but is often unsafe or too slow for potential riders, and faces constant budget instability. Lower-income neighborhoods often have no amenities within walking distance, making car travel even more necessary. In Milwaukee, an estimated 68% of commuters commute via car, and of these daily commuters, 70% of them commute alone. That means roughly 47% of all vehicles moving in and out of Milwaukee are only used for a single person. This creates a huge waste of space and time as more cars are on the road congesting traffic. The Milwaukee County Transit System, or MCTS, is currently at a budget deficit of over $10 million, potentially causing more bus routes to be cut across Milwaukee County. Budget cuts would affect the frequency of bus routes scheduling and how many bus routes are able to remain open, causing many Milwaukee citizens to walk further distances to bus stops because of route cuts or inconveniently change their schedules to accommodate bus route schedule changes. Food deserts inadvertently affect transportation. Milwaukee's east side and central downtown have many grocery stores, but when you travel outside of central downtown, the number of grocery stores drastically drops. In 2021, Milwaukee's north side lost both a Walmart on Silver Spring Drive and an MKA food market on 64th Street, which put 21,000 Milwaukeeans in food deserts. Of important note was the fact that the MKA food market serviced a neighborhood with a high percentage of households with no vehicles. This highlights the necessity of adequate public transport, so that these people have consistent, reliable transportation to grocery stores and other amenities that are further away. Market size. Milwaukee City has an estimated population of 557,000 residents, and Milwaukee County has an estimated population of 924,000. In 2024, the MCTS, Milwaukee Citizens' primary ride-share service, serviced a total of 6 million passengers, with 74,000 of them being daily commuters. 40% of Milwaukee citizens do not drive, which is roughly around 228,000 citizens. Market competition. A potential transportation solution would primarily be competing with rideshare and car companies. Milwaukee's primary rideshare company is Milwaukee County Transit System, with private rideshare companies like Uber or Lyft on the rise. Private rideshare companies profit off of convenience as users don't have to depend on the inconsistent transit schedules. Private rideshare companies are generally more safe as well, as users don't have to worry about waiting extended periods of time for a bus around others. Barriers to entry. Primary barriers to entry include governmental policies, time, and cost. New policies would have to be created to facilitate the construction of a new transport system and the regulation and maintenance of said transport system. One of the newest transit projects in the United States, Hawaii's Honolulu Skyline Network, took multiple decades to be constructed and cost about $10 billion. A potential new transit system in Milwaukee would probably take a decade to complete, if not more. Survey data. The following data was collected through various sources, including forums on Reddit such as r/Milwaukee and r/UW Milwaukee, Golden High School student and staff population, and the UW Milwaukee students via posters posted throughout the campus. Figure 2.1. Survey data shows the majority of respondents use the MCTS less than 1 to 3 times a month. 16.1% of the survey respondents use the MCTS every day, which is relatively reflective of Milwaukee's actual daily commuter population of 13%. Figure 2.8. Survey data shows that the plurality of respondents answering the question, "What is your opinion on Milwaukee's walkability?" view Milwaukee's walkability as okay. It is important to note that a vast majority of our data was collected from respondents on the east side of Milwaukee, hence why over 75% of respondents viewed Milwaukee's walkability as okay to good. Neighborhoods on the east side of Milwaukee, like Milwaukee's Yankee Hill, have walkability scores in the 90s, which is based on distance from nearby public transport, amount of nearby parks, businesses within walking distance, and amount of sidewalks. However, Milwaukee's total walkability score is a 62, highlighting how taking the entire city into account shows that many areas are very unwalkable. Current solutions to problem. Cutting down on parking spaces. There are around 2 billion Cutting down on parking spaces. There are about 2 billion parking spaces in the United States that equate to roughly 10,000 square miles. To put that into perspective, that's roughly the size of Belgium. Parking minimums, local government regulations force real estate to build bigger, unnecessary parking lots, which separate buildings from roads and other buildings, creating non-walkable infrastructure. Some pros include more space for other types of infrastructure, such as bike lanes and improved wider sidewalks, and an incentive to use walkable infrastructure more, since they know they might not be able to park there in the area they want to go. Cons include increased traffic congestion as drivers spend more time searching for parking spaces and struggles to get funding, as the general public is usually on the side of cars. Milwaukee's minimum parking space law of 2.5 spaces per square 1,000 feet of gross floor area would need to be reformed to eliminate massive parking lots. The Milwaukee County Transit System. The MCTS is the current public bus network of Milwaukee, operated by the Milwaukee Transit Services. The transit service is equipped with nearly 375 buses that serve approximately 100,000 riders daily on about 40 routes. Pros are that the MCTS is fairly reliable and a bus fare cap of $5 is applied per day, meaning once one spends more than $5 worth of bus fares through the WISC app, the rest of their travels via the MCTS bus is free. Cons include a general negative stigma about buses, as they are often viewed as unsafe and dirty. The Hop. The Hop is a downtown-focused form of public transportation in Milwaukee, mostly financed by the Potawatomi Casino. This allows for the streetcar to be free to ride. Pros include completely free to the user and completes a round trip in 15 to 20 minutes. Cons include services a very small geographical area of Milwaukee, and the area is already extremely pedestrian-friendly. Lime scooters. Lime scooters are electric, dockless scooters scattered all over Milwaukee. The scooters are rented through a smartphone app with pricing varying depending on the city. In Milwaukee, a ride costs $1 to unlock and charges a rate of 40 cents per minute. Pros: the scooters are eco-friendly and help decongest car traffic. Cons: a slow method of transportation that often becomes nuisances. Many users often leave the scooters in inconveniently placed locations that can't be accessed by others. Solution number 5. Private rideshare platforms. Private rideshares allow for riders to go exactly where they want, but rides can be expensive and passengers might be more likely to be assaulted due to the one-on-one nature of the rides. Solution 6. Banning car use. Banning cars from areas creates dedicated pedestrian zones that can be developed in a denser fashion without the need to design for cars. Customer needs. The customer needs to be able to travel through the city. Citywide service. The customer must be able to travel to anywhere in the city. Low cost. Anyone should be able to travel through the city for the lowest price possible. Service life. The average bus lasts about 20 years. The solution should be able to match the service life or have a longer life. Durability and maintenance. The solution will need to be easily maintained and keep condition with heavy use. Generation and evaluation of design concepts. Concept number 1 is a citywide elevated train network that will cover major corridors in Milwaukee and collect larger suburbs through the existing Milwaukee transport system. Radial lines are also included to allow for streamlined travel when passengers are farther away from the city center. A train network will support the current bus network by adding a faster way to travel larger distances. A theoretical way to use the system would be using the train system to move quickly from the north side to the south side, then using the existing bus network to complete the journey. The Autowalk, a slow-moving conveyor belt that transports people along sidewalks. Split lanes allowing for two-way foot and bike traffic, and an awning to protect against the elements. Concept 3 builds upon the existing Milwaukee City bus system by reducing the probability of fare evasion. Buses will be equipped with doors that only open when bus fares are paid, making sure that riders would not just sneak on without paying their fares. The concept design builds upon Milwaukee transportation, rather than constructing a new form of transportation. As a result, the cost to implement the design would be relatively cost-effective compared to the other designs. The fare evasion upgrades to the MCTS buses will be done strategically. Buses will be slowly upgraded over time, allowing for very little disturbance within the current MCTS routes. A citizen that wishes to ride the MCTS bus would first select a payment method on the user interface fixed on the outside of the bus. If the user selects a payment card, they simply tap their card on the screen of the UI. If the user selects a payment method involving American currency, they direct their attention to the payment system under the UI that can take American bills and American coins. Once the user pays their fares, the bus door activates, allowing the user to enter. Concept 4 consists of a large government-funded network of buildings. Each building would consist of government-subsidized businesses, allowing greater access to essential services such as grocery stores, pharmacies, and libraries. These businesses would be allowed to operate in the buildings if they agree to have lower prices than surrounding businesses. The aim of the solution is to remedy food deserts by creating cheaper options and actively putting them in areas without current access to grocery stores. Concept number 5 would consist of redesigning city streets to be more pedestrian-friendly. Some two-way streets could be narrowed, made into one-way streets, allowing for more sidewalk space. Redesigned streets would feature more and improved bike lanes that connect to each other, allowing for more efficient travel via bike. Parking spaces in some areas could also be removed, making more room for sidewalks. The restructuring of infrastructure towards pedestrians instead of cars would also discourage car use, making walking to destinations even more safe. Concept Design Matrix. The decision matrix design criteria was the design specifications previously mentioned. Concept 4 and Concept 5 scored the highest, with both scoring 40. A close section was Concept 1, Train System, scoring 37. Consumer survey data. To decide on a final design, a market survey was conducted to capture Milwaukee citizens' thoughts and responses to our proposed concepts. The survey was distributed strictly to individuals in the Milwaukee area on the subreddit r/Milwaukee and individuals at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee campus. Section 2 featured the 5 concepts with the same 3 questions to gauge respondents' feelings toward them via a Likert scale. Section 3 was the reflection response to pick out which concept was their favorite and if they had any of their own. The concept that respondents chose as their favorite was Concept 1, the train system. Of the 41 respondents, 15 chose Concept 1, making up 36.6% of respondent data. A close second was Concept 5, sidewalk reconstruction, with 14 respondents choosing the concept as their favorite. Final design. The final results from the consumer feedback survey and our decision matrix indicated that a sidewalk reconstruction was the superior concept. A general consensus among respondents to the survey was that making the city safer for pedestrians is the foundation for improving Milwaukee accessibility. Reconstruction of sidewalks could be relatively cost-effective as it could be incrementally implemented throughout Milwaukee rather than all at once. Once constructed, very little maintenance would be required as opposed to the other concepts. Applying STEM principles in final design. With time constraints, 2 STEM principles were tested, materials and civil engineering. The choice to choose asphalt over concrete was based on the fact that asphalt has a lower initial cost and better adaptability to harsh climate change. Asphalt does require constant maintenance, such as sealing. However, this maintenance is quick and on the cheap side. Concrete will be used for the sidewalk portion of the street. This concrete will first consist of the same subgrade and subbase, but different dimensions. Portland cement, the binding agent, along with microfibers, will be used to form the concrete. Soil borings would need to be constructed to measure the load-bearing ability and drainage capabilities of the local soil before construction. Drainage is key in preventing erosion and the possible sliding of the sidewalk and/or road. Traffic would need to be thoroughly calculated to find traffic volume, vehicle types, and the various speed limits. Because the road is a one-way, multiple Milwaukee roads must be reconstructed to create a one-way road network. Stormwater and drainage experts will be needed to add necessary designs to the street to prevent pooling of water during high rainfall. Applying STEM practices in final design. City of Milwaukee traffic codes regulate strict laws and regulations on the construction and regulation of one-way streets. The City of Milwaukee Traffic Code, Chapter 101-22, states that the Commissioner of Public Works shall erect and maintain signs at every intersection in connection with the one-way street. These signs shall indicate the coming direction of the traffic. Chapter 349, Section 10.2 prevents local authorities from constructing one-way streets without due regard for the flow of intercity traffic. This statute requires local authorities to construct research on the flow of traffic to make sure the implementation of a one-way street is sensible. Life cycle and construction. The Department of Public Works partakes in competitive bidding where the city advertises the need for materials on platforms like Bid Express. Private contractors can then formally bid and source the necessary raw materials themselves from local suppliers. Funding for these competitive bids comes from the city tax dollars and, if the project is sizable enough, WSDOT and the Federal Highway Administration. Distribution of these redesigned streets would be based on traffic data and how well the new streets would be utilized. A wide street with many suburban houses might have a lot of traffic that people would like rerouted, but wider sidewalks would not be utilized to the greatest extent. Meanwhile, a busy street in a denser neighborhood like the East Side or downtown would benefit more from the redesign. Construction of a testable prototype.